Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Elevate interview. Today, I'm here with my favorite Canadian, my man Myron. Turns out he did not vote for Trump, which is kind of upsetting in my mind, but I guess he couldn't vote for Trump living in Canada. Myron, what's up, dude?
How you doing? I'm just glad I could be your first experience with a Canadian.
Are you the only Canadian in the group?
I think since I've joined, there's one more. Yeah, one guy I need to connect with so we can get on the same page.
Oh yeah. Is it Isaac Hainkamp?
I can't remember the name off the top of my head, to be honest.
I think so. I think he is a Canadian, but I could be wrong. Isaac, if you're listening to this and you're an American, I'm sorry. Nah, I'm just messing. All fun and games. But Myron just experienced our latest elevated event, Rocky Mountain National Park, where 8 of us guys went out in the mountains, hung out for 4 days, and just disconnected from this world and really connected with each other, connected with God. And I just want to start this interview off by reading his testimonial from that experience and from Elevate as a whole, because I think this testimonial is exactly why I started Elevate, the reason why I started Elevate, and honestly, made me emotional, brought some tears to my eyes. So after this event, I shot Myron a text, me or Peyton, one of the two, shot him a text and said, hey, just give us a quick write-up about your experience. And here's what he said. He said, I can't speak highly enough of my experience with this Elevate event. I've lived a lot of my life thinking there just weren't other men who thought like me and wanted to live life as I do. But really, I just needed to find them. The Elevate group is nothing short of exactly what you need if you've been feeling the same. Meeting these like-minded men in real life took this experience to the next level. I truly believe this Elevate event to be life-changing for me. Being surrounded with these men has pushed me to level up. In areas of my life I've been ignoring, and talking about real issues in our lives has given me a renewed clarity. Thank God for bringing these men into my life, and truly believe this is only the beginning. And I just want to highlight, you said, I've lived a lot of my life thinking there just weren't other men who thought like me and wanted to live life as I do. And that's exactly the reason I started this. Is I was 18 at the time, and I didn't go to college, and I was taking this other path of entrepreneurship, of living life at the highest level. That's what I had in mind, and I couldn't find anyone around me physically that was like that. But I started connecting with these guys on Twitter, and I was like, I'm starting to find a lot of young guys who are into faith, who are into fitness, who are into building, who are into, family, of wanting to be the best version of themselves. I was like, I need to get these guys together. Next thing you know, here we are almost 2 years in. We have over 140 guys. So talk to me about your experience, though, of, what you said here, of lived most of your life thinking there just weren't other men who thought like you.
Yeah, going back to high school, college, I'm not gonna lie, that was a very lonely kind of time for me, and it just seemed like no one understood what I wanted. No one understood why I couldn't. There's people would say there's lots of guys going to church. Like, what's wrong with them? And it's just we're on different pages, right? This as well as everyone. You're just on different pages. You're looking for something more in life, and unfortunately, it's just tough to find those people.
Yeah, I absolutely can relate. Talk to me about what on different pages. What page would you say you're on? Talk to me about what your walk kind of looks like, if that makes sense.
So honestly, that's been one of the hardest things for me to describe to people who just don't get it right away. Because it's so easy to come across as arrogant, or I'm better than you, or I can't relate to these low life, right? That's what people think, right?
Totally.
But no, it's just I just want to crush life, every area. I want to do well at my job. I want to live a godly life. I want to be somewhat healthy, at least, right? And yeah, just finding the people who are kind of the same mindset of that in every area of life is tough. So
yeah, and one thing you'd mentioned is people had said oh, there's like-minded people at church. And I know that you and I, not to get too deep into personal stuff, but you and I have kind of talked about you struggling to find that connection in that community in church. So what do you think like the friction point is there with the church community? Because I know there's a lot of people, like just to give you a little context about why I'd ask this, there's a lot of people looking for community, stepping into a church and not necessarily clicking. Like, what has that struggle been for you, just to give people a little insight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not at the point where I want to be right now in my current situation. And it's tough to sometimes understand why. Like I still don't have all the answers to that. But yeah, just being part of this group already has like changed my mindset in that like they're out there. Maybe they're not the direct like 20 people around me right now, but they're out there.
They're not Canadians. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think it's like, for me anyway, it's like we talked about. It's not necessarily like people just don't get it. They don't get it, but the right people, they get it and it clicks. It's just an approach, like you said, a mindset of just like, it's not necessarily one specific thing that like sets us apart. It's just a mindset of how we approach everything. And I think the lens truly summed up best is we want to live life at the highest level, and that comes down to every area. But talk to me about how your mindset shifted. Like, what was your mindset coming into Elevate versus getting surrounded by these guys who have that same, mindset of wanting to live life at the highest level? Like, how has that transitioned?
I don't know how much I would say like my mindset overall has changed. I would say I'm now like going forward in life realizing that there's more people who think like I do, and that gives me like, it's inspiring and it gives me hope and it drives me even more.
So essentially just community surrounding you, empowering you to live boldly in this way of like, oh, I'm not a misfit. I'm not different. Like, I'm alike a lot of other people.
Yeah, rather than just doing what I was doing all by myself. Now I'm doing what I'm doing.
Talk to me about the difference of that, of like walking alone versus walking with over 100 guys who are living the same way. Like, how has the pace been at which you've taken action? How has the level of belief been at which you've taken action? Like, talk to me about that difference.
I mean, that's immediately noticeable. I remember our first call. It's probably like 3 minutes into the call. We were talking about like our biggest challenge at the time. And it was something we could relate on. And I'm happy to say, like, whatever it was, 3-4 months later now, I'm at a much better place with that and have actually taken action on that.
That's huge. And I think the biggest thing is just the action you have taken. Like, it's one thing where I didn't really follow up with you that much. Like, there wasn't babysitting. It wasn't like, that's not really what this community is about. We're not here to, babysit you along. We're here for some guys to come in who are ready to take action, who are ready to change their life, who are ready to grow. And as soon as you hit the door, like, we were able to connect deeper. And like you said, 3 minutes in, and it's funny because a lot of people make that joke about me. Like, I have a lot of close friends that are like, dude, like, you need to calm down. Like, first question you ask is like, hey, where are you from? And then it's like, hey, what's your biggest insecurity? Like, you need to slow down with people. Like, some people aren't ready for that. But one thing I found is like, guys like yourself, guys that are in this community, like-minded dudes who were on the same page, we just click. Like, we're ready for that. We're ready to talk about that. And that's something I want to cover from your perspective, is just the depth and the vulnerability of this community as a whole, because I've never experienced anything like it outside of this. Like, just, even connecting with people at the gym or connecting with people even at church. Like, no one is ready and seeking. I think they're seeking it and they're wanting it, but people join this community just ready for it, ready to hit the depths, ready to hit vulnerability. So, like, what has your experience been with depth, with vulnerability, with connecting with a ton of these guys now?
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, people maybe want it, but don't either know how to go about it in kind of the real life, whatever. Or it's always, even if you get to that point with someone, it's always kind of awkward still, right? Whereas in this community, it's like there's almost an expectation of like, we're here to get better. And by, you have to get deep sometimes to do that. Or more than sometimes. All the time, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny, like right now, something I've been noticing is a lot of like talk about like football starting up and stuff. Like you see a lot of football stuff. I've seen like 2 messages in our community about football. Like, not that I'm like, oh, don't talk about football in this community, but it's like everyone's talking about just such deeper things. Like, it's just these shallow conversations. I've just been analyzing, like seeing a ton of content, ton of people, sharing about the NFL starting, college football starting. It's like our community is just like, nothing's changed. Like, nobody's talking about football. They are a little bit. It's fun and games, Obviously, we're for moderation and balance. But we're not here for the shallow conversations. We're here to go deeper. Like you said, it's that expectation. And I think that this is just the perfect segue into talking about the event because, vulnerability and connecting deep, like there's nothing more powerful than coming together in person. So what I want to do for this event experience is just walk me through like day in the life of Myron day to day going through this. Like day one, I knew you flew in on Tuesday night. We start kind of on Wednesday brunch. Like start there. Like what was your emotions like when you were like, yeah, fuck it, I'm in, I'll come? What was it like, flying in? You're connecting with random dudes from the internet, like dudes you've never met. Yeah, we've been on calls, Bible studies, we messaged, but like, just walk me through the emotions of that.
Yeah, so this was, I agreed to this event, 2.5 months after joining? Like, it was fairly quick. It's hilarious trying to explain this to people in my life beforehand. People were like, you're doing what? You're going to go live in a house with 8 other guys you've never met in the middle of the Colorado Mountains. Cool. Being from Canada, even the border security guy at the airport was like, you do you, man. This is nuts. But yeah, like it was a ton of fun. I would say I was nervous, but also in a way not, just because I knew there was the type of guy that was going to be there, right? So yeah, the first kind of thing was getting picked up, and then we went to brunch right away with a couple of us here. And that was a ton of fun. And then everyone else came, and it was sort of just like I've been following a bunch of these guys on Twitter for a while, so it was sort of like okay, these are like actual real people. Cool. They're here. And a lot of it was just like, it was a lot of just like observing, even just like interactions and how you guys who have known each other for a while interacted. And like trying to catch myself up, it felt like a little bit, but just being surrounded by these like unbelievable guys was a great experience.
I'm curious, like, just what were those observations? I guess because for me, like, these are just some of my best friends, like that I've just been hanging out with for the last 2 years, doing life together, growing together. They've seen me through the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the transformations of the business, like everything. So, like, what were you kind of observing?
I think it was just a matter of like exactly that. You guys have known each other for 2 years, and I was literally joined the community 3 months ago. Had never spoken to any. Well, I'd spoken to you, obviously, and Peyton and Austin. That was it beforehand. So just walking into a house, starting the first conversation ever with most of these guys, was kind of an interesting situation.
Yeah, I think it's cool just how connected we feel right away, though. Like you said, like you never met any of these guys in person. Not even from the same country, as I've touched on a ton of times. But coming and having never met any of these guys in person, like I think it's cool how we just click right away. And I think it's a testament to really 2 things, like the power of Elevate Online, like the online experience of how we connect in the community. And then two, just like our like-mindedness. And I think that's unique of what you said. Like you were nervous, but you weren't at the same time because you knew the type of guy that was going to be there. And just from your perspective, like anyone listening to this and they're just wondering about Elevate and that type of guy, like how would you describe like the average Elevate member, let's say, like that type of guy that you're like, oh, I know that this type of guy is going to be there. I'm curious just your perspective on that.
Oh man. I would say the average guy is, I mean, first of all, godly. We like to just have like wholesome fun. And just ready for like deep conversations. Like that's really what we're all about, to better our lives in every single area. And yeah, that starts with deep conversations, like almost always. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like ask me like talking about deep conversations because like you're saying, like it is a cornerstone to connection. Like absolutely, a lot of guys like they'll ask me about it and I'll say, yeah, like you need to just have deeper, more vulnerable conversations, and like understanding that they are hard. There's nothing easy about it. Like it is like a little bit of a knot in your chest, you know, when you're going to have that. It definitely gets easier the more you do it. Like I think for me now, I'm at a point where I'm so vulnerable so much with content, with connecting with so many guys in the community, with the group calls, what have you. Like it's definitely got easier to go deeper, 100%, just the more reps like anything else. But it's not easy. And I think I really like it helps guys with two ways of doing it. And I'm curious just your take and your experience from this. As I said, number one, you got to lead with love. Because if you don't lead with love, there's no safety, there's no security. If you know, hey, I love you, I'm not going anywhere when you get vulnerable, like I'm here to support you, to build you up, to ride with you, like I love you, like you got to lead with love. And that will create the safe space for other people to get vulnerable. So I think that's the biggest thing is leading with love. And then two, like leaders go first with the vulnerability. Like don't expect anyone else to get vulnerable if you're not willing to get vulnerable. Like you have to knock down the domino and break the ice first with vulnerability. That's kind of been my just two-step formula to deepening relationships has been love and then vulnerability. So I'm curious just like your, experience now of being in Elevate and then coming to this event. Like what's your take on that?
couldn't have said it any better. I would literally say those exact two things. You have to be willing to get vulnerable yourself. And yes, that means going first sometimes with that. And sharing things that maybe is pretty uncomfortable at the time. But it gets easier the second you do that. And then, like you said, it's leading with love, like leading with grace for someone else's tough situation. Being able to convey the message that you're there to see them win. Like we're on the same team here. And that's honestly one of my favorite things about Elevate is that every single guy in here that I've experienced is exactly that. Like we just want to see each other win.
I think it just comes from like what you're saying. Like I think it comes from faith, the relationship with God. Like we serve an abundant God. Like we are all here to build the kingdom. Like your work and my work, it's one and the same. Like we are doing the same thing. We are on the same mission. Now we're doing it in our own unique ways. Obviously, you have a gift of, interior design and design and that whole space. Obviously, I have a different gift of building community. Like it's just, but at the end of the day, like we're rooted to the same God. We're rooted to the same kingdom. Like that is what we're really building through our own unique ways. And I think that's why we're able to just connect and have that abundance mindset of just like, I want to see you win just as much as I want to see myself win. And I think that was apparent, on these hikes. We're going on some of these challenging hikes throughout this Colorado event. And I don't know about you, man, but I think that Lake Hialeah, whatever you say, Hialeah, whatever, if you're somebody listening to this and like you didn't see some of the content from this event, you need to go check out those pictures just for this lake and then you need to book a flight to Denver if you don't live near Colorado, and you need to go to Lake Hialeah because this was just absolutely stunning, absolutely gorgeous. But that hike, climbing those boulders, I mean, talk to me about that day of the event, really the official day one. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was sort of the kickoff kind of thing to the whole event. You know, I'm from Alberta. I have mountains kind of like 4 hours west of me. It never gets old. Like, seriously, just seeing God's like handiwork and creation is unbelievable every single time. And yeah, like you said, hopping up those boulders when you first see the lake, whew, I mean, just absolutely beautiful. And then jumping into that freezing cold water. I mean, that'll wake you up. But yeah, just an absolute unbelievable experience that whole day was.
What do you think the temperature of that water was? I'm curious.
I would probably say like, I mean, I'm Celsius, so like 5 degrees, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. I don't know.
Come on.
Freezing's like 32, I think.
Let me see. I'm Googling it right now. We got the Canadian on the interview. Somebody in the comments going to be so upset when we shit on Canada. 5 degrees Celsius would be 41 degrees Fahrenheit. I would say, yeah. I would say around there. 30. When I tweeted, I think I said like 35 to 40 in that range. But it's absolutely freezing. And you were the first guy in. First guy in like a beast. Stayed in there for what had me a little nervous. Like, for people who don't know, an ice bath is a lot of stress on the body. Like, your body goes into fight or flight mode of like, hey, we're about to die. And that's why all the blood rushes to protect your vital organs. It leaves your extremities, so your hands get pale and your arms get pale, your feet go numb. Like, all these things go numb because your blood rushes to your vitals. And Myron, he's just been in here floating around, swimming around like a little kid having fun at the pool for 15 minutes. And I'm like, hey, man, like, I think it's time to get out. Like, you might get sick. Like, your body's just got to be freaking out at this point. But you were just hanging out, bro. You were chilling.
It's just a good time.
We were just having a good time, man. Talk to me about this. I thought it was a really powerful experience. Before we went to Lake Hialeah, whatever, that just big rock we found. Somehow we even get lost. Literally, this trail is the most, like, public, like, paved. Like, there's a ton of people walking on it. And somehow I got us lost. I have no idea how, but we find this big rock that's overlooking this beautiful lake, and we realized we were so found. God had us in the right spot the whole time, which we knew. I knew where we were going. Had no idea. But talk to me about that experience on that rock, because for me, that was just such a powerful experience. Us all just sitting there doing breath work. And then I'll share a little bit about my perspective, but I'm curious yours first.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, you kind of took a turn and we're all just like, okay, let's follow. But yeah, we ended up on this like beautiful spot looking out over the lake below. And yeah, just took a bunch of time and doing breath work and praying and screaming out over the mountain. Yeah, it was just, honestly, that whole experience put me just like at peace with like life in general. Like, it was just like, God's got this all. Like, honestly, it's like we might struggle day to day, but it's like it's all figured out for us already.
Man, that's so comforting to think about. It really is. And for me, on that rock, I'll get to why we were screaming in a second for those listening, like, why the hell are these guys screaming? But on that rock, man, I actually like had some nerves around praying for some reason. Like, I was praying over everybody, and I don't even know why, but it was just like the first day of the event. Like, we're all sitting on this rock doing breath work, and like, I value each of you guys. Like, I don't know, like, I know everyone looks up to me and respects me as the leader of this thing, the founder of this thing, but like, I look up to you guys just as much. Like, every dude who joins this community it's so much respect and love for just the action they're taking to wanting to better their life and build themselves up. And so like I'm sitting on this rock and I'm looking around and I'm like, damn, like I got some powerful dudes around me, like some dudes I really respect. Like this is big moment to pray over everybody. And I've prayed over multiple events at this point, but for some reason it's just always a big deal. So we're sitting there doing breath work and I just feel this calling of like, I just need to pray. I need to pray over the group, break the ice, and then open the door if anybody else wants to pray. And so I just kind of got that, that knot that I was talking about earlier. Like I got that building up and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm praying. And I remember just looking around, looking at you and just head nodding like I'm about to pray. And man, it was just a surreal moment for me. Just such a long prayer. And I was like in that moment praying for that peace and that anxiety and that struggle to just lift off our shoulders. Like you were saying, like I felt that same feeling as well. And I think it's so unique when we come together like that because like you're saying, I felt that exact feeling. And I bet we could interview each guy who was there. We could get them on right now and they would say the same feeling of just like, God's got this like undeniable peace in our lives. And I felt like I needed that. Like, I felt like I needed that in that moment. I don't know, what you were feeling heading into that, but man, I felt like I really needed that. And then I've really been thinking about just having a fire for faith, like being a savage for Jesus, like what it means to walk with God. So much I feel like is so focused on grace and love and, oh, Jesus loves you. Like, it's okay that you're making mistakes, like doing all this. But like, I want to get to the side of like, we walk with God. Like he's placed us here to do some big shit, like some amazing shit. Like he has placed us here to, conquer, to achieve, to build, to grow. Like that should come with a fire, the motivation. And so I just felt this feeling of just like, we got to just stand up and just scream, like feeling God's presence. Yeah, we're feeling that peace, that love, that grace. He's got us. Everything's comfortable. But like, man, I was feeling some power, some rage, and some fire. So I stand up, I do a little screaming, and then I just start calling guys out to do some screaming. I just thought it was so powerful, dude. Like, I think it's so powerful to just feel like you're just alone with God. And I felt like when we were just doing that, it's like God's presence was there. He was present in each guy. And not only were we feeling the peace, but we were feeling the power. What were your kind of feeling about that? Have you ever done anything like that?
I've never done anything with that with like a group of guys like that. No. But yeah, my feelings would be very similar in that it was just like a sense of incredible peace with everything in life. And then, like you said, a fire to do more. And really that was like walking away from the weekend is sort of those two things would sum up the weekend fairly well. Coming back to my regular life with a sense of like just peace and with like a fire under my ass to keep going.
What talk to me about this fire. Like what you had kind of mentioned in your testimony, like, like areas of life that you need to be just pushing in harder. Like where was that fire lit? Where is it lit for you right now? Because we're a week off the event, 2 weeks off the event? Like we're not even that far off. So like coming back with this intentionality, this power, this fire, like where are you channeling that energy?
Yeah, so I think it comes from just knowing that there are, like I said earlier, that there are more people that think this way than I originally thought. And that just gives me like it's so inspiring, and it just gives me so much more energy to go forward in life. Like everyone has their stuff that they know they should work on. And when you get around a group of guys like we were that weekend, and you see some of the guys like doing well in that area of life per se, and you need to figure it out. I mean, there's nothing that lights a fire more than that for me.
Yeah. What area is it, bro? I'm making you get vulnerable here. Let's talk about it. That's what we're all about.
Honestly, for me right now, it's just being at peace with being like single and not having kind of someone next to me. I had some really great conversations on some of the hikes, like one-on-one with some of the guys, just talking about that area of our life. And yeah, just being able to be at peace with where God has us at the moment.
It's something that's really new for me. Like, you met Tawny, my girlfriend, and I've dated her for like a month now. So insanely new for me, and really nothing I've even shared like publicly yet. So this will be a first. But honestly, like, it feels like it's from God. Like, it truly does, this relationship. Like, she's in complete alignment with my values, faith, etc. And it feels like it's from God. And I got a point to why I'm sharing this. But like, I had so much, like, my decision to abstain from sex, like, I had so much struggle around that in building up, because I drew so much worth and ego and pride from, conquering women. Like, that was a lot of my past. So to completely dive into faith, like, that's not what it's about. It's about serving women, and you're no longer going to draw worldly status and ego and whatever from that. And so I legitimately, like, out of fear, like, didn't talk to girls for a year. Like, I was like, I'll just stay away from them. Like, I don't trust myself with them. I don't trust anything. So I'm going to stay away. I'm going to grow myself till I feel ready. And I didn't know when that was. I didn't know what that looked like, and I shared this all in my speech that I posted recently, but there was one moment. I was at a Luke Combs concert, and I had this girl come up and dance on me, and this fear all hit me. Like, she just out of nowhere. I didn't even know who she was. She just stepped in out of nowhere, and this fear just all hit me. And Gabe, good friend of mine, strong believer, pulled me aside. He saw the fear. I mean, I went pale. Like Joey says, I saw a ghost. Went pale. He pulled me aside and he was like, hey, like, you're ready to lead a woman to God. Like, you're ready to serve a woman and do it in a godly way. And I don't know why I do, but in that moment, I felt ready. Like, I had never felt ready. Like I said, it had been almost a year of me just avoiding, canceling coffee dates, like people trying to set me up, me being like, I don't know about it, finding some sort of reason to say no. But after that moment, I just felt ready. And then like 2 days later, she DMs me on Instagram. Crazy. The timing was just absolutely crazy. And like, even a month in, like, I'm fully convicted, like, she's the one. Like, I'll even say that on this interview. It's absolutely nuts. But like, the divine timing of it, I know it's easy to sit here and say that being in a relationship, but just like my experience, like, I get where you're at, bro. Like, I struggled and a year is not that long. I get it. I'm young. I'm 21. Like, a year is not that long. I know you're older than me. Like, but still, like, I relate to your struggle. I understand it. And for anyone listening to this, like, we're both sitting here relating to the struggle, understanding your struggle. If you're sharing that, like, but like, man, I was just so grateful that I had to struggle for that year after this, just feeling so like perfect. Like, because I think if it would have happened any sooner, I think I would have fumbled the bag hard. So I don't know if that provides you any peace, any comfort, any clarity, but I'm just happy to share that and grateful to share that I can share that. And I do think it's something that, like, God is empowering me to continue to lead in and share in our relationship, because obviously, we're looking to live life at the highest level. Like, that's going to come with intimate relationships. It's everything. So I'm grateful to share that, but I appreciate you getting vulnerable here, knowing this is going to go public. So it's just a testament to this community, though. Like you said, you had some vulnerable conversations at the event. You're sharing vulnerably on here. Like, it's one of our values. It's one of our core values at that. And I'm actually launching the credo and the values next Monday. They're going to get announced, so you'll see those get published. And I'm stoked to just announce, like, what we're about, what we believe in. And vulnerability is definitely the core four of that list. So, but back to the event. Sorry to call you out there. Back to the event here. Just talk to me about these vulnerable conversations as a whole. Like, because that's really what it's all about. Like, that's what this whole thing is about: community, connection. Like we said, love, vulnerability. Through that vulnerability, like, we're able to connect, we're able to grow, we're able to share the weight of struggle. So just talk to me about having those conversations. You came back with peace, came back with power. Like, talk to me just about the vulnerability and the connection at the event.
Yeah, so I mean, I think holding events like this is super powerful for that exact reason, just to be able to provide space for guys to connect like that. I mean, technology is great and all, but it's next level when you go in person and kind of talk about things in person like that. So I'm very much like a one-on-one kind of guy when I talk to people like that. That's kind of my jam. But just having the space to be able to do that with multiple people, I mean, just in randomly, right? Like, we're hiking, there's a group ahead, 2 of us are walking down here, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just always having an opportunity to kind of talk to every guy that was there, and just go deep with them there.
It was funny because I was talking to Antonio for a lot of that hike, you know, up Mount Ida. Like, we were just getting vulnerable about some things going on in his life. And it was amazing talking to him. And Nick, I think he was taking a shit in some rock hole. So he got put behind us, and then he came up to pass us. So he was moving a lot quicker than we were. And I just said, Nick, I want to challenge you to walk up to somebody in that group and tell them the most vulnerable thing going on in your life right now. Like, this was like the middle of the Mount Ida hike heading up. And he's like, all right, done. And so we get to the top. That's the first time I'd seen him. And I was like, dude, so did you do it? And he said, 2 people. And he like had, I think Peter was one and somebody else he shared it with. But it was just funny. Like, Nick's been a guy who's been in Elevates and OG. A guy that I just absolutely love, and he's come to a bunch of events. But like I've said, like, vulnerability gets easier as we continue to surround ourselves and grow and do it time and time again. But it's just funny that was one of just something I just pulled out and said. Like, I was like, dude, just go get vulnerable ASAP. Like, we need you to just go do that for somebody. I was like, somebody needs it, and you need it. Like, let's all be honest here. And I think that's like the biggest thing is men, like, we're not hiding anything. Like, let's get raw. Like, there's an elephant in the room. We all see it. We're struggling. Let's just address it, and let's just fucking talk about it, and let's grow. Like that's plain and simple why we're here. And I'm just grateful for you, dude. Like, I'm grateful for you for, buying in so early, 2 months in, committing to this event. It's I don't know, like I said, just your action right out of the gate, even those, conversations and relationships, developing relationships in your life that we talked about, like first call, 3 minutes in, boom, we've got some deep, vulnerable, hard action items. Then you came back a week later and they were already done. And I think you're seeing fruits of those. But let's dive into the day where we just hung out. We had some awesome hikes, day 1 and day 3. Day 1 was like Lake Hyaya, this beautiful turquoise water. I don't even know the elevation on that hike, but then day 3 was hiking Mount Ida, vulnerable conversations as you're pushing yourself physically and mentally. Mount Ida was 13,000 feet elevation. If you guys are seeing my content, that height is just going to keep going up every time I tweet about it. I even put it in a thread and put 14,000 feet just as a joke because we were talking about it. It's a running joke within our community at these events that I make them out to be harder than they are on the timeline. But they're tough. Like, somebody listen to this. Like, they're tough. Don't get me wrong. But talk to me about the day where we just spent time hanging out. And my real purpose of that day, like when we were planning these things, is just like, I want to just like show an active life of just like how guys can just hang out without having to, end up acting a full drunk or, doing anything. Like, we can have an active lifestyle. And I've talked to so many guys where they're like, dude, like, I have no one because all my friends or former friends, like, just want to go drink or they want to go party or whatever that kind of scene looks like. And I'm like, well, have you like led with an alternative? So that's kind of my approach there is like, I know we're going to connect. I know we're going to hang out, but I also just want to show what that can look like of just dudes hanging out, having a blast, living this active lifestyle. And I didn't know you were such a freaking athlete, bro. So talk to me about that day of just hanging out, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome day too. And like you said, I think it's just important to continue to do things rather than just like sit on the couch, right? I mean, we could have spent the entire day on the couch just talking too, but yeah, just getting out. I mean, beautiful weather. Like the whole weekend was amazing. Just getting out in the sun like that and throwing a frisbee around, like, yeah, that was a blast.
And you're selling yourself short of just throwing a frisbee. This dude is a beast. He's an athlete. We didn't know it coming in, but yeah, we played Can Jam. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Can Jam, but I love it. It's a fun game. Everybody, I'm curious your take. Spike ball, or would you have rather got Can Jam?
See, I love spike ball. I've done a ton of spike ball, but
come on, man.
I mean, you can't go wrong though. Really, like it's just a good time.
Peyton wanted me to get spike ball. I was like, I think I'm gonna get Can Jam. I was like, I like Can Jam better. I was like, spike ball. Like, my thought process was, one, I don't like Can Jam as much. So there was that. That was number one. But two, like, Can Jam's a lot less effort. Like, we could just kind of hang and chill, like, and talk and throw the frisbee.
Yeah.
But moral of that whole story is Myron's the only one who threw it in the slot because this dude's a beast. Still ended up losing, though, might I add. But
rigged.
It was rigged. I don't know if that's a rule or not, bro. You
I
might
don't
have
know.
won.
Made sense. Made sense at the time.
Yeah, it totally made sense. I was like, we're already here. Like, we were at 21. No way we could lose this thing right now. Oh, man. And then we went hooping. We went and played some b-ball. And, oh, man, dude, getting into that fender bender just, like, caused me a lot of just, like, I don't know, man, stress, anxiety, like, having to deal with that. For anybody listening, like, we got to this fender bender, and long story short, we ended up having to talk to the police and go through this whole process, and I'm still dealing with it today. It's not even resolved, but yeah, it just caused me a lot of just anxiety, stress, trying to lead this event, make sure everything's going great. Now I got to go deal with this situation with a rental car and this guy who's acting a fool, like, and then you guys were involved in it as well. That was just a whole thing, but I think another testament to community, to surrounding yourself with the right people, like, one, I knew I could lean on, Peyton and really everyone to ensure that the experience was going to be amazing for you guys, and I could go, handle that how I needed to. So I was just grateful to have strong dudes around me. And two, like, it was one thing for me, like, I knew I didn't even need to have a conversation about it. Like, I just knew, like, the level-headedness and the just groundedness of everyone in that group. Like, if I would have wanted to talk about it or share, just like dealing with that and the anxiety that came with that for me, like, I just knew how that support was going to be overwhelming, and I feel like I was able to just feel that without even communicating, if that even makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you said, everything just kind of carried along and whatever. Like Peyton and Austin kind of kept things going for sure, and it was just like, no one was wondering, like, what are you doing or anything like weird like that, right? Like, it was just like, we're cool, yeah. Right?
Absolutely, bro. It was I don't know, it was definitely taking up a lot of mental space for me, though. The rest of that day, I was just like, man, it was the last thing I want to have to deal with. And I hate anything that just deals with just, like, legal stuff. I just hate that stuff. I'm trying to just not let the government know anything about me, about where I'm at, what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to just be as minimalist, avoid all government officials and all people as much as possible. But yeah, so that's neither here nor there. But so we have a blast, hiking, hanging, Bible study. You weren't up for the Bible study, man. You're sleeping in.
I caught the first one on Wednesday. I didn't catch the second one.
Another aspect I want to talk about, though, is just the food. Like, I think I really, like, I feel intentional when we're planning these, when we're going into these. Like I said, like, the hikes, physical and mental challenges, going to bring out vulnerability. the hanging out. Like, I want to show you guys like how we can just hang as dudes and have fun and, you know, do other things that you can take back and lead in activities and some guys around you, you know. And then you were saying like even seeing the interactions, like I really want to display love, like hugging guys, like right when we meet we're freaking hugging. Like I'm trying to hug as many guys as much as possible, trying to pray as much as possible. Like, you know, we got different guys praying before meals, praying before hikes, praying during hikes, like things like that. It's like different things we're trying to display there of just how, like what it looks like to live this life, like to live life at the highest level while we're connecting and while we're growing. And I feel like one for me was food. Like I have a massive passion for fitness and health, and that's kind of how Elevate really got a, you know, its genesis as well. It's how I attracted the first, you know, year of people was around growing in just fitness and health, and then year two has kind of been, you know, faith approach. But just like, here's how you can just cook your own meals, like healthy meals we can eat, we can cook. We have that balance where we still went out, still got ice cream. Like, I love just displaying the lifestyle as a whole. And so I'm just curious your take, bro, because we were throwing down on some food. And I absolutely love cooking. I love serving guys. I love creating an experience with food. That's why I was just so involved, having such a good time. And I draw energy from those things. Like, I will say after the events, I'm just absolutely wrecked for like a day. Like, I'm just done. But I draw a ton of energy from those things. So what was your kind of experience with, you know, just the health, the food?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. You guys nailed that for sure. And just, I think just like exemplifying the fact that we're on vacation, but you don't have to eat like total crap. I think that's a really important one for a lot of people, where they just kind of let their diet go at that point. But yeah, it was just a ton of fun. Every meal was just some of the best conversations there, and just a blast.
There's something powerful. Like, I feel like there's like right now off the top of my head, like 3 different things like God put in our life. Like, I'm sure there's more that I could think about if I thought deeper, but like as you were saying that, there's something powerful about running water, just experiencing like the sound and flow of running water that allows us just to connect. Fire, I think just like campfires, like sitting around the campfire. And it's one big thing with campfires is you look at the fire, so it's a lot easier to get vulnerable because you're not looking at the person. You're just talking to the fire, you know? It's a quick side tangent there. But 3 is breaking bread, like breaking bread with each other. Like, I think there's, and, you know, like part of this, like getting connected back to God is like going back to how our ancestors used to live. Like, that's just a part of it. Like, you know, we're not full blown Liver King out here, but there is a holistic health approach to what we do, you know? And I think like just people coming together, community, but also like, you know, like they used to have to hunt the food and like it was like a big deal that there was food on the table. Like now, you know, we just freaking hunt it at Safeway or Target or Walmart, whatever, but hunt for the best deals, I guess. But but I just think there's something so powerful about those 3 things, about bringing guys together and just partaking in those 3. Like, I feel like God uniquely like gave us those 3 things to come together and connect.
100%. I would totally agree with that. It's almost like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, shoot, bro. Before we jump off here, I just want to talk about just your walk of faith. Like, I just want to get raw, get vulnerable, and just talk about like what that's looked like for you. Because, you know, there's a lot of guys that kind of follow Elevate, follow me. They're unsure about this community as a whole, like, you know, with faith, and they're unsure about faith in general. So every time I get a guy like on here, I love to just talk about just your perspective on faith. Like, how did it start? Like, what is your background? Like, what was your kind of turning point, you know, like where you started really developing your own relationship with God? Like, let's start with like growing up. Like, what did faith look like for you growing up?
Yeah, so I've been like incredibly blessed to come from like generations and generations of believers. And I just see the fruits of God's faithfulness in like my parents' 42 years of marriage. Wow. And like my nieces and nephews talking about Jesus and singing Christian songs. Like, it's such a blessing. And I mean, like like a lot of people would have the same story going through high school, going through college. I wouldn't say I stopped believing, but I would say it wasn't like a priority, kind of like, sure, it's there, but what does it even mean or matter at this point right now? And then after college is probably when kind of my faith took off again. Like, honestly, I've seen so much undeniable proof of God's faithfulness in my life and previous generations' lives, and in grandparents, that it's a powerful thing to grow up and be part of.
For somebody who's like I feel like you were able to see the undeniable proof because you were aware of God. Like, you had an awareness of, like, okay, that is God. Like, for somebody who doesn't know, like, looking at things, like, understanding that is God working, what would maybe your advice be to them? Like, maybe they aren't seeing these things. Like, how can you start to pick up on these things? Like, what does that kind of look like?
I think a lot of that comes down to, like, conversations with people, and just, like, being curious and asking about faith and God, and even just starting your own, like, just start praying in your own life. Just, read the Bible, just see what it's about, kind of do your own thing. There's no right or wrong way to do it when you're starting out. Like, just get into it. And I have, like, full confidence that you will be able to notice it.
I agree 100%. I've had a lot of people actually approach me like, hey, I don't even know how to pray or how to read the Bible. So I love that you're saying, like, there really is no right or wrong way. Like, dude, I talk to God like I'm talking to the homies. Like, dear God, and then I just go. I just let him have it with what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm grateful for, what I need, where I want to go. Like, man, I just lay it all out there. And so I just think it's good to just hear that from multiple people. Like, there's no right or wrong way. People who are walking in faith. And I think another big one for me, just to add to what you're saying, is gratitude. Like, I feel like, there's that whole thing of, like, if you never express gratitude, you'll never have anything to be grateful for. And so, like you're saying, you were able to look at, okay, I've had a marriage of 42 years, a faithful marriage be demonstrated to me. Like, that's something you're extremely expressing gratitude for, extremely grateful for. Like, imagine if you start with gratitude, and I think that's a big, staple of Elevate as well, as that gratitude channel. Like, I know it's probably our most active channel, maybe. It's definitely top 3 of guys hitting it daily and just expressing things of gratitude. And one thing that really helped me with gratitude is, like, in the beginning, I don't know about you, but, like, it just felt fake for me. Like, I'm developing this false, optimism. Like, this stuff isn't real. I'm just doing this to check a box. But, like, yeah, it felt that way for, like, a few weeks. But what I did is it was 3 items a day, and I just kept challenging myself for new items. So instead of just, like, oh, I'm grateful for coffee, God, and water, like, next. Like, I was like, okay, coffee, God, and water, cool. That's day 1. Day 2 can't be coffee, God, or water. Like, what's next? And as I continued to do that day after day, dude, you just have to start getting unique. You have to start getting specific. So it's like, yeah, if I want to talk about coffee, guess what? I got to get, like, detailed about coffee for it not to be the same as me just putting the word coffee. So, like, you really start to think, and then it's like one of those things, like, when you start thinking about something, your brain starts making those connections. Like, you start thinking, like, down the pathways of, like, okay, what do I have to be grateful for? Like, even asking yourself that question. And when you wake up like that every day, man, like, it's unreal. And then I think another layer, and something you can attest to, I'm sure, is just, like, seeing so much gratitude. Like, I'd say we have a minimum of 10 guys dropping 3 pieces of gratitude in there every single day. Like, when I get in there and I read them all every day. Like, I usually heart them all, but I read them all every day, or at least the ones that are in there before I put mine. I'll just read through, and it's not that I'm trying to get insight on anyone's life. It's just, like, I just love reading it, things to be grateful for and things you guys are grateful for. So, curious, like, your perspective around gratitude. Like, is that something you'd agree with? What has your experience been in Elevate around gratitude?
100%. That's, like, truly gratitude is one of the best ways to like improve your life per se. Like if you see, and like you said, picking new things every day, like doing that exercise, picking new things every day, it opens your eyes to really what you actually have in the world and how grateful you can be. Doesn't matter. Honestly, I truly believe it doesn't matter what your situation is. There's an unbelievable amount to be grateful for. And just being able to step outside and see green grass and like have that be like have a positive reaction to that. Like that changes your life more than you would ever think.
That's so true. Like just having it, like you're saying, having a positive reaction to the green grass. Because I do that every day. Like one of the first things I do in my day, aside from read the Bible, drink kefir, is I get outside and touch the freaking earth. Like I'm trying to get outside as fast as possible. It doesn't matter if it's winter and it's snowing. I'm getting outside. I'm stepping in the snow. I'm freezing cold. Yeah, I'm staying out there a lot less long. But like, it's just crazy to think about the inputs, like the positive inputs that will flood your mind if you just start to appreciate. It's kind of corny to say the little things, but it's just the truth. Like it truly is. I think it's like classic case of like, have you ever heard the like people say like if we all got in a circle and like we all put our shit in the middle, like you would take your shit back. I think that's funny. Like you're saying, like there's always something to be grateful for, no matter your circumstance. I've loved that one. I was like, if we all like piled our shit up in the middle, like you're gonna grab and take yours back. And I think it's funny to see like we had a pastor yesterday at church preaching on that. Of just like, hey, we're all messed up. We've all got our struggles. We've all got our own shit. Instead of pointing fingers and, trying to blame other people or blame anyone else, like, let's look in the mirror and let's grow. Like, let's get through this and let's be a reason that our family is better off. Let's be a reason that there's less, struggle in this world. So, yeah, dude, I love that message. I think there's just so much to be grateful for. But it's I got to ask, like, 42 years of a marriage, like what talk to me about like what you think goes into that, like why, like how, like what do you think from your perspective, experiencing it, like what what
Honestly, man, I don't even know. I think it's just such a strong commitment that we're gonna do life together, we're gonna figure it out. Like no one has an easy marriage for 40 years. Like that's not reality. There's going to be tough stuff. And coming from a single guy, full disclaimer. But yeah, I mean, I think just seeing like a true like commitment and desire to figure it out, doesn't matter what happens, is like super cool. And ultimately like having such a strong faith in God that really just to let him guide your life together like that is beautiful.
It really is. Like that's, especially like in today's world, like, I don't really want to get into today's world and politics and all that, but like, divorce is just astoundingly high. Like I come from a divorced family. Like I feel like you can pick any person out on the street and they're more likely to have a divorced family than not these days, which I'm not trying to be the doom guy seeing the world as a dark place. I don't like that at all. I always believe in good people, but it's just the truth. I think it's the truth. But so seeing that of just 42 years and just understanding that foundation was, through faith, through God. And I bet, I'm sure you can like emphasize this or not, confirm this or not, I guess. Like I bet if we asked them like why has this happened, they would probably say their faith. Like they would probably say the foundation of God in this marriage. Would you say that that's probably true?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's building on a foundation of like building on a foundation of your faith together is like the ultimate foundation. Like truly it is.
What actions have you seen them kind of take? Like if maybe somebody listening to this has a relationship, me, bro, I'm a month in. Like, of course I'm trying to build on faith. Like, I guess what actions have you seen them take that maybe I could emulate?
So something I've seen, like I've witnessed, and that they've told me is that you always read the Bible together and you always pray together every single day. Doesn't matter how you're feeling towards the other person.
Oh,
You do those things together and just continue to build that faith together.
so I guess more about the consistency than the, like I guess actions themselves. More about the consistency. All right. Well, I've done good so far. I've been doing that, so set myself up for success. Shout out to Mom and Pop for the affirmation there. Before we jump off, bro, I just want to know like what's next for you? Like what kind of focuses, what are you looking, what areas are you looking to grow in? Like, like I feel like there's only a certain amount of things we can focus on in each season of life. Like, what are you focused on right now?
Man, I think coming back from Colorado was really just putting me in a season of like being at peace with. It's hard to describe this. Being at peace with where I'm at, but not in a way that I'm still not trying to improve, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
being at peace with situations in my life that are, I guess, out of my control, which is never a fun thing to admit. But just being at peace with that and letting God's timing, be what it is. Yeah, and that's been a focus for me for sure lately.
Love it. Being at peace with God's timing. I was talking to Antonio about that, like on the trip of like this balance that you find that I believe that I've found of like, now obviously there's ebbs and flows to that peace, of course, but like it's almost like I heard McConaughey say it this way. He's like, happiness is once you reach the mountaintop, joy is found in the process. Like we live in joy. And so thinking about that, I feel like there's like this, once you have an identity in faith, you're able to live in joy of like, I'm grateful for everything I got. I'm happy and not content with where I'm at, but like I'm right on that balance where it's like I'm also so on fire to continue building, continue growing. And I think another piece of that is like we don't necessarily work out to get healthy, like we work out to stay healthy. Like we work out because we know that guy, that father we want to be, that husband we want to be, like he's in shape, he's healthy. Like our kids, future families, like vision that God has placed us here to be, like that guy's healthy, like that vision we have. And I think that's something everyone should get so clear on. It's just like, who is that guy? Like, what does that guy look like? And I think that that's really how I've been able to find my balance and find my joy and build my identity is through that. So I can relate a lot to what you're saying, but I got a few Elevate kind of just rapid fire questions here, just some fun things. First off, what's your favorite aspect of Elevate? Just like out of anything we do.
Favorite aspect. I gotta say, I was gonna say the people. I'm gonna be more specific. I think it's the fact that we're all on the same page and that we're okay where we are, but we're pushing to grow continuously as well. Doesn't matter, if you're the guy asking how to begin to pray, or if you're the guy, struggling with porn, or you're the guy, whatever it may be, we're all on the same page in that we provide grace to everyone and we come at it with love and we truly just want to see every single guy win. Doesn't matter where they're at in life.
Love it. It's huge. What is your favorite channel of Elevate? I like asking guys this.
I think probably the Win channel.
All right.
I think that fires me
Why is
up.
that?
Fires me up. I just like
Cool.
seeing guys succeed, man.
I better
Like,
see you
seriously.
dropping some more wins in there then, dude.
I'll do that. No, I think
Myron's
it's just,
all about winning.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing more that fires me up than seeing guys succeed. Like, truly.
Dude, I love the training. Like, when guys are dropping their workouts in there, and I don't even, like, it's not even that I'm on fire to go work out. I'm just on fire to just take action. Like, when I see dudes just grinding in the gym, for some reason, that's just like, oh, it gets me fired up. Especially today, I woke up and Cam and Crawford had already hit the flights of stairs before I'd even got out of bed. I was like, damn. I was like, I gotta get up, get moving. Like, I started just like getting after it. But I think I like the training. Just like see it. For some reason, guys just sharing their workouts gets me fired up. But I love the wins as well. Last question I like to ask. Well, two more. But if you could get lunch with 3 guys in the community,
Whew.
who would they be? You got to pick 3. And no offense to anybody listening, and they don't get picked. This is no offense. It's a tough choice.
Man. I mean, I gotta go with the other Canadian in the group. First off, that's just a given.
You don't even know who it is.
I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna know your name. I promise.
I think it's Isaac, man. I really do.
Let's get lunch, Isaac. Yeah, I mean, we got to get on the same team against all you for sure. That's number one. And then I think I would pick 2 guys from this weekend, actually. One being Peter. We have a very similar background, we found out. So diving into that more would be fun. And then, I mean, I gotta go Austin. The dude's a legend.
Dude is a legend. Man, I love that guy. I think it's crazy to see. Like, he's like one of the first members in. We connected 2021, late 2021. This thing launched Jan 1, 2022, and he's like one of the first guys. And man, his growth has just been unfreaking real to now be such a leader. Like, it's crazy to see. So I love that. He's been getting a ton of hype lately from a lot of guys, and I've been loving it because it's absolutely well deserved. And I've just seen him just build and grow and freaking grind, dude. That dude has just grinded. Like, the action he's taken is like no other. I wish I took as much action as that guy. It's been crazy, but love that you picked him. Final question though, bro. Then we gotta get off of here. Is someone considering joining Elevate? Maybe they're on the fence. I don't know. What would your advice be to them?
I mean, get in here. We're waiting for you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think if you're considering joining, you're missing something in your life. You're missing some sort of connections or people or whatnot. And you already know what your life looks like currently. There's truly no downside to trying it out at the very least.
I mean, there really is no downside because we offer 30-day money-back guarantee.
Oh, there you go. Even better.
So if you cancel in the first 30 days, we refund you in full. Like, there's no risk involved at all.
Yeah, honestly, there's no downside. Just try it out, and you'll love it. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Man, means a ton, bro. But yeah, I think with that 30-day money-back guarantee, shameless plug there, of course. But it's one thing, we know this isn't for everybody. We don't want everybody. We're looking for like-minded dudes who are chasing to live life at the highest level. If that's you, great, join us. If that's not you, great, move on. Cool, we don't want everybody. So some guys join, it's not for them. It's $30, man. We don't care to have your $30 if this, if it's not going to work out for you. We want guys who are committed and want to be involved and want to grow. So it's easy to, hit that refund button. It's no problem here. So, bro, I just want to say a couple of different things. I'm just grateful for you, for joining, for, the no risk involved choice that you made of joining and just betting on us and just saying, hey, what is this thing about? And for 2, just coming in and just buying in, taking action. You're a guy who's came out of the gates just ready to freaking grow, ready to see some change in your life. And I think you've seen that thus far, and it's we're so early in your experience in Elevate. Now you come to an event, takes it to a whole nother level. So we'll really be connecting even deeper, just as we continue to grow our relationship and these other guys you connected with in person. So I'm just grateful for you, dude. I'm grateful for you just being a fellow believer, and just sharpening me every freaking day, man.
Appreciate it, bro. It's been a blast, and I mean, like I said in my review, I truly believe it's only the beginning. So,
man, it really is. But appreciate every guy who listened to this, and like Myron said, like, get the heck in here. Let's do this thing together. Let's let these guys come around you, support you, and let's freaking live life at the highest level.